Welcome back to Comic Cappers. Today we will be capping Absolute Flash 5, why Wally West is the military's most dangerous failure. With that said, grab a snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Wally West is paralyzed by a primal, suffocating dread. His internal monologue reveals a lifelong haunting premonition of an early death, a fear his mother couldn't soothe, now manifesting as a literal, inescapable nightmare. He stares directly into the face of the encroaching horror, a monstrous, burning entity that seems to be the embodiment of his own volatile power. He's frozen, convinced this is the end, until he catches a glimpse of something familiar in those glowing eyes. Despite the sheer terror radiating from the creature, a sudden, inexplicable sense of recognition washes over him. Wally's hand reaches out, bridging the gap between victim and monster. The realization hits him with the force of a lightning strike. The barrier between his own consciousness and this burning, chaotic energy is shattering, and the truth of what he's becoming is finally about to be laid bare. That existential dread boils over into pure physical agony. Wally's internal monologue finally voices the fear he's been running from. What if he isn't the victim but the source of all this destruction? He screams as the energy rips through him, a violent discharge that forces him and Grodd to scramble away from the epicenter of the blast. Grodd, ever the protector, tries to communicate through the psychic haze. He's struggling, the telepathic connection strained by the sheer heat of Wally's volatile aura. The entity looms, a melting, burning nightmare of pure power. It's not just a vision anymore, it's a presence that feels both alien and intimately connected to Wally's own biology. Reality snaps back into focus, leaving them reeling in the aftermath. Wally stares at the smoldering remains of their encounter, the realization of what just happened and what it means for his survival, hitting him with jarring clarity. The energy discharge is absolutely violent now. It's not just a surge, it's a living, burning entity tearing through the environment. The sheer heat is palpable, and Wally is losing his grip on the containment of his own power. Everything is coming apart. Wally is thrown into the air, caught in the wake of the kinetic explosion as the tunnel walls buckle under the pressure. The speed and intensity of this release are enough to leave anyone breathless. Amidst the chaos, the psychic connection between Wally and Grodd becomes a lifeline. Grodd is telepathically pleading for intervention, demanding Wally focus his energy to stabilize the situation. The question remains, can Wally actually control this, or is he just a conduit for a disaster he can't stop? Wally's internal monologue is spiraling. He's staring at his own hands, which are currently erupting with that signature violet gold energy, and the trauma is flooding back. He's explicitly linking this current, uncontrollable surge to a past catastrophe in the desert involving Bari, a moment that clearly haunts him. He isn't just watching the energy, he's fighting it. The power is trying to tear his physical form apart, but Wally is drawing a line in the sand. He's refusing to let history repeat itself, projecting a desperate, defiant willpower against the volatile force that's consuming him. This is the breaking point. The energy manifestation is now a full-blown, screaming monstrosity. It's a terrifying visual representation of his instability, and the sheer volume of this surge is pushing Wally to the absolute brink of his endurance. Everything goes critical as Wally's internal instability manifests externally. A massive, searing wave of orange energy erupts right at the entrance of the Dibny mission, instantly scattering the people seeking refuge and turning a sanctuary into a ground zero disaster zone. Amidst the chaos, the focus shifts to a man, likely a mission worker or volunteer, who realizes the danger is far beyond their control. He urgently commands Linda Park to get the civilians to safety, even as she hesitates, worried about leaving someone behind. There's no more room for debate. The man locks eyes with her, his expression a mix of sheer terror and absolute resolve, and delivers a final, breathless order. Back at the base, the military team is feeling the strain of their mission. One of the operatives is clearly concerned about their gear, noting a strange lag in its responsiveness, a glitch that's been lingering ever since the desert incident. They're starting to wonder if Dr. Thawne needs to run a full diagnostic on their equipment. Inside the lounge, the tension is palpable. Lisa Snart is clearly done with the theatrics, snapping at Jesse to finally take off that restrictive helmet. Jesse isn't backing down, though. They trade a sharp retort, making it clear that the helmet stays on as long as Lisa's does, turning a simple request into a standoff. Things escalate instantly. Lisa loses her cool, lunging at Jesse with a terrifying, aggressive promise to tear them apart. The atmosphere in the room has completely shattered. Dr. Thawne walks into the room, his presence immediately silencing the bickering team. He reminds them that the power he's granted them is a loan, not a right. Thawne brushes aside their complaints about morale. He's got a target and he's got a location. Grodd and Wally are in Central City and he wants his team ready to move within the hour. Then Thawne drops a bombshell. He reveals that Grodd has taken Wally to someone they all know, McRory. Captain Snart is visibly shaken. He was told Rory didn't make it through the experimental process, and Thawne's non-committal response speaks volumes. Snart finally calls him out on the deception. Thawne doesn't even try to deny it, he simply pivots, telling Snart he only heard what he needed to hear, but now the mission is changing and the true scope of Project Olympus is finally on the table. Thawne makes his priority crystal clear. Whatever the bigger game is, they have to secure Wally West first. Panic is setting in at the Dibny mission. As the reality of the threat hits home, civilians scramble to find cover, recognizing the terrifying energy signature from the disaster in Gateway City. Before they can reach safety, the unstable energy surge erupts with violent force. The blast catches the bystanders mid-flight, throwing them against the pavement as the volatile heat consumes the entrance. Amidst the crackling, violent discharge of his own energy, Wally is curled on the ground, overwhelmed. Grodd approaches, his telepathic concern cutting through the chaos as he checks on his partner. Wally is at a breaking point, his voice raw as he admits to the psychic entity that he is completely falling apart. In a moment of vulnerability, Wally leans into Grodd, confessing his fear. It's a rare, quiet beat of honesty between them. Grodd remains the stoic anchor, reminding Wally that fear is mutual. The people around them are terrified too, and that they need to manage this dangerous heat to survive. Wally looks up, questioning his own agency against such overwhelming power, but Grodd firmly redefines their struggle. It isn't a solo fight, it's a symbiotic bond, Wally and Grodd against the world. Facing the reality of their situation, Wally attempts to steady his nerves, looking to his ally for reassurance that they can actually contain the destructive energy entity they've been battling. The affirmation is brief and heavy. Wally begins to prepare, reaching into his bag to retrieve the suit that has become a symbol of his burden. With the suit now in his hands, Wally's tone shifts, a mix of dark irony and genuine dread. He knows better than anyone that when it comes to his powers, absolutely everything can go wrong. The situation at the mission has spiraled into pure chaos. With the energy entity looming over them, survivors are scrambling, but one man is pinned, desperately trying to help someone who can't move. The heat emanating from the entity is agonizing, and the psychological weight of the situation is hitting everyone hard. The entity isn't just mindless destruction, it's an active, suffocating threat. Just as the danger peaks, Wally strikes. Clad in his suit, he launches himself directly into the entity, the impact marked by a violent, kinetic blast of yellow energy. Mr. Dibny is stunned to see Wally in this state, barely registering the bizarre spectacle before him. Wally doesn't have time for explanations. He's singular in his focus to clear the area. With no room left for debate, Wally urges the survivors to move immediately. The clock is ticking, and the volatile energy is showing no signs of slowing down. Wally lunges forward, his body trailing a massive, volatile wake of orange energy. The sheer kinetic force is palpable as he attempts to contain the anomaly, but his efforts aren't yielding results. The energy is too wild, and Wally is clearly fraying at the edges, shouting for guidance from his telepathic partner. He's looking for a way to shut this down before it consumes the mission. Grodd's connection remains steady, but his answer is cryptic. He isn't offering a solution to stop the surge, he's offering a change in perspective. Grodd's telepathic command is cold and direct. He isn't telling Wally to fight the energy anymore, he's telling him to absorb the destruction. Wally has to become the vessel for the very chaos that's tearing the world apart. Wally refuses to give in, fighting the raw, violent energy erupting from his own body. He tries to push it away, but the power is too overwhelming. The effort backfires instantly. The surge slams into him with the force of a freight train, throwing him backward as the energy spirals completely out of control. This is the price of taking the heat. Wally is left screaming, his body becoming a conduit for a destructive force he can barely comprehend, let alone contain. After that crushing backlash on the previous page, Wally is now fully suspended in the eye of his own storm. He's not just fighting the energy anymore, he's being completely consumed by it, pulled into a swirling, cosmic vortex of violet and white. It's a haunting, silent moment of total surrender, where the sheer scale of the power he's trying to contain makes him look like a flickering candle against a supernova. He's no longer running, he's being unmade. After that cosmic suspension, Wally crashes back down to a surreal, stardusted plane. He's physically reeling, the immense pressure of the energy surge finally taking its toll as he gasps for air. He isn't alone in this void. Someone or something is calling out to him, piercing through the haze of his trauma. Disoriented and terrified, Wally spins around, demanding to know who's encroaching on his mental space, but the vast, shifting darkness offers no easy answers. Suddenly, a massive, spectral hand reaches out from a swirling vortex of energy. Wally's panic skyrockets as he tries to push back against the manifestation, desperate to stop the intrusion before it consumes him entirely. After that harrowing psychic encounter, Wally snaps back to reality, collapsing in the smoldering debris of the Dibny mission. A bystander rushes over, clearly shaken by the sheer intensity of the energy discharge, but Wally is too disoriented to even process the concern. Nearby, Grodd, in his smaller, more vulnerable form, is already assessing the situation, reaching out to a fallen individual. He's not looking for a fight, he's looking for a way to mitigate the damage Wally's presence is causing. As the civilian tries to offer help, it's clear they're still reeling from the impossible sight of Wally's power. They're trying to be the hero, but they have no idea what kind of monster they're dealing with. Panic takes over. Wally can't risk anyone getting close, not while his control is this fragile. He lashes out, forcing the civilian to back off before he accidentally hurts them again. Linda Park is right there in the thick of it, staring down a clearly traumatized Wally. She's terrified by the display of power she just witnessed, and honestly, who wouldn't be? Wally is completely spiraling. He's looking at his own hands, terrified of what he's becoming, and he can't even give Linda a straight answer because he's just as lost as she is. Linda tries to bridge the gap, reaching out with a simple, human gesture to offer support. It's a moment of pure empathy in a situation that's rapidly losing its humanity, but the peace is shattered instantly. The telltale chop of military helicopters cuts through the air, and Grodd, in his agile, smaller form, spots the incoming threat immediately. The hunt is back on. Linda is left standing in the wreckage, calling out for him as the reality of their separation sets in. Wally is already pulling away, his connection to Grodd overriding any chance at a normal interaction, and just like that, they're gone. With a violent, high-speed SHRACK, Wally and Grodd vanish into a blur of motion, leaving the mission behind and forcing Linda to watch as they disappear into the chaos of the city. Back at command, the tactical grid lights up. Wally and Grodd are on the move again, and the military is tracking every step of their flight through the city. Dr. Thawne isn't wasting a second. She makes her priorities crystal clear to her team. Wally must be recovered unharmed at all costs. As for Grodd, he's strictly expendable. It's a cold, calculated directive that highlights just how little she values the life of Wally's protector. Captain Snart immediately pivots to the other variable in this mess, Mick Rory. Thawne confirms that Rory needs to be contained, and she's putting the responsibility squarely on Colonel Rudy West to handle that specific threat, but something is off. Thawne stops mid-sentence, a sudden flicker of concern crossing her face as she realizes something, or someone, is missing from the board. The hunt just got a lot more complicated. Dr. Thawne's command center is in full crisis mode. The hunt for Wally and Grodd was supposed to be surgical, but the tactical grid is failing to account for the most important variable of all. Whereas Colonel Rudy West, we cut to the colonel himself, walking away from the main command hub and into the shadows. He's not following orders, he's taking matters into his own hands. He reaches an access point and presents a security badge. It's not his own, it's an ID for Barry Allen. The clearance is accepted, and a door slides open, signaling that Rudy has been playing a much deeper, more deceptive game than anyone in the Olympus project suspected. Inside the restricted zone, Rudy stands before a strange, organic-looking vessel. It's pulsating with a violet, energy-rich glow that feels disturbingly familiar. Whatever this is, it's not standard military tech, it's a secret that could change everything. As he approaches the glass, a reflection stares back, or perhaps it's something else entirely. The air fills with a sharp, static hiss, and Rudy's calm, calculated demeanor finally cracks. He's not just here to contain a threat, he's here to commune with it. Colonel Rudy West stumbles upon a sight that shatters his composure entirely. As he stares into the depths of the facility, he can only whisper. And that unfortunately concludes our comic cap for today. With Colonel Rudy West using Barry Allen's credentials to access that pulsating organic vessel, do you think he's trying to weaponize the source of the Flash's powers, or is he actually being controlled by whatever is inside? Let me know your answer in the comments section down below. Be sure to subscribe and press that notification bell for daily comic caps. Until next time, take care, brush your hair, I'll see you when I see you, peace.